Hey everyone, Jason here with STS. I'm going to take a minute out of my busy day here and do a demonstration on size. What I'm going to be doing is taking some of the components that I deal with every day and compare them to real world objects under the microscope to give people that don't know an idea of just how small some of this stuff is, because people can look at you all day long hunched over your microscope or even look at it on the screen, but they still don't really realize just how small that is. So let's get started with this demonstration. The first thing I'm going to show you here on the screen is a standard issue toothpick. This is just a regular dinner table toothpick. So here is a backlight output capacitor on the tip of a toothpick. Let's go ahead and set that item aside. Well, let's see if we can keep it in view. Let's just set it right up there. The next thing I'm going to show you is a backlight diode. On the tip of a toothpick. Let's set this right next to this capacitor. The next thing I'm going to show you is a backlight filter. This is a backlight filter on the tip of a toothpick. The next one I'm going to show you here is probably the smallest component that I work with. This is also a little filter. This is a Ferrite bead filter. They are used all over the place in iPhones. And this is a tiny little 01005 filter on the tip of a toothpick. So when you get down to a component this size on the tip of a toothpick, it's not even noticeable. Like if you don't know that it's on the tip of the toothpick, you'll just, you'll brush it away. It'll get stuck to your clothes. It winds up being just dust on the table. You have to get in really close and look at these to realize that it's actually got a cap on each end, and it's a component that you can solder. I solder them all the time. So there is our tiny little component. Let's go ahead and zoom out here and sit it next to our backlight, capacitor, diode, and filter. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into view here a backlight coil. Here's a standard backlight coil. They're monstrous. Set it off to the side. The next thing I'm going to show you here is also another very tiny component. This is a power supply for Touch ID on the tip of a toothpick. Now this is another component that whenever you see it on the table, it's hard to realize that it's a component. It looks like a little speck. But as you can see, the surface tension, gravity, surface tension, I get confused between the two because whenever you start working under the microscope, objects attract each other, and it's not because they're magnetic. Okay, so here is a 3-volt supply. I can actually feel it pulling back to that, to where if I let it go, it'll stick. See? Oh, there, I dropped it. So yeah, component attracted to wood. Fun world I live in. So there we have it. We have our 4-ball supply for Touch ID on the tip of a toothpick. Let's set that out of the way here next to our other guys. The next component I'm going to show you is a Tristar IC next to the tip of a toothpick. So when you see people replacing Tristar, that's how big Tristar is. Nobody cares about Tristar, so we're going to kick that out of the way. The next item I'm going to bring into view here is a piece of jumper wire. This is probably the biggest piece of jumper wire that I run if I'm repairing a broken backlight. and I have to run a wire, that's usually the wire that I run. If I'm doing, now that wire, I got that out of a 100-volt motor when I was a kid, and doing iPhone repair, I'll probably be using that until I'm, well into my 90s. And by then it'll be so small, I'll be cutting a piece of wire that's so small there won't even be anything there, so then it'll last me forever. So I'll probably have the same spool of wire for the rest of my life. Now, to get even smaller, this wire here is actually considerably smaller. It's hard to tell under the microscope without stereoscopic view like I've got here, but it is actually about half the size. This wire I harvest from iPhone ear speakers, and this is actually off of my second spool that I've ever had ever. Maybe if I zoom in you can get a little better look at it. Yeah, there we go. So there's really big fat jumper wire here. And here's my really, really thin jumper wire here. And to give you an idea of exactly how big those wires are, I have harvested a hair off of my head, one of the hairs that's still not gray yet. And I'm planning on laying it in here with these wires so that we can get an idea how big these wires are. So there we have all of our common components with a Q-tip or a toothpick and my hair. And for any of you that said, good Lord, man, those components are only the size of a grain of rice. There's your grain of rice. Yeah, there you go. There's your grain of rice. Crazy. You could fit all those components on a grain of rice. That is so small. And then if you want to compare it to another real world object, now this is a dead ladybug. No ladybugs died for this video. I found this one on the floor. I wanted to use a live ladybug, but there's no way in hell to keep a live ladybug in view under the microscope. So there you have it. A standard issue toothpick. We have a backlight capacitor. We have a backlight diode, a backlight filter, a tiny little other filter. We've got a supply for Touch ID, Tristar IC. We've got big fat jumper wire, tiny jumper wire, human hair, backlight filter, and ladybug. I hope I didn't leave anybody out. So that's going to be it for this video. More repair videos coming really soon, but for crying out loud, I've got, let's see, Touch IC failure, Touch IC failure, Touch IC failure, backlight job, Touch IC failure. I have to keep moving and get this stuff flushed out of my queue so that I don't have anybody ready to come and drag me out and beat me for taking too long to fix their stuff. So that's going to be it for this video. I doubt you learned anything, but if you got anybody pestering you or like anybody that doesn't understand just how tiny the things are that you're working on, this might give something to show. So I hope you all have successful repairs, and I hope you all have a good day. Thanks for watching, everybody.